Hello and welcome back to the Cooking with Ruth cooking show on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a treat for you today. Now, you might think this is hyperbole, but when I tell you there has not been one person that I have made this dish for who has not absolutely fell in love with the flavor of it, it is no exaggeration. So I am peeling back the curtain today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm opening up the tent and I'm going to give you a peek behind the scenes and show you how I make this 7-herb baked chicken and seasoned rice. And I'm going to show you how to get it done today on Cooking with Ruth. All right, folks, I feel like this is a repeated message, but I'm going to have to say it one more time. The key to this Cooking with Ruth recipe is, in fact, the preparation. So if you want to zoom in, I will show you what these ingredients are. We have the fresh herbs, and I didn't have fresh rosemary, so I used dried rosemary. But what we have here is rosemary. We have 5 cloves of garlic. We have a large onion, 1 large stalk of celery, medium carrot. We have about 7-8 sprigs of parsley, fresh parsley chopped, and 2 shallots. And then of course over here is that rice. That's 3 cups of rice that I'm gonna make, and that's gonna turn into that seasoned rice that folks just can't get enough of when they have it. And folks, I'm giving you the secret to this. Today, you will be able to make this in your own home and knock your family and your friends' socks off with flavor. In my Dutch oven, you've got to have a great baking dish or a dish for roasting. This is my Dutch oven. Inside there, come get a peek at this thing just in there, just resting. Just in there resting. Is that seasoned chicken. And this chicken has obviously been washed. It's been DEFETHERIFIed, which could be the Cooking with Ruth word of the week. DEFETHERIFIed. That is to remove any of the latent feathers left after the chicken has been packaged up and sold in the store. DEFETHERIFIed. The word of the week today on Cooking with Ruth. So, in addition to that, as I season this chicken, I use what I call an SSS methodology. What is that, Cooking with Ruth, you might ask? And that is a sextisectional seasoning strategy. Cooking with Ruth, what is that? What I do is I divide the chicken into 6 segments and I season each segment. So I season the breast area, I flip it over on the side, I season the side, I season the back, I season the other side, I season inside the cavity, and then I also season inside this neck area up top. So that's that sextisectional seasoning strategy. And you want to go liberal with this on your salt and your seasoning salt. So the seasonings that I put in here are salt, seasoning salt, cumin, black pepper, and paprika. And then all of the other flavor is going to come from those fresh herbs and that dried rosemary that I'm going to add in there. So we'll come back here momentarily. I'll show you how I put all of this together and prep it to go into the oven. Speaking of the oven, I have the oven preheated to 320 degrees. And what I'm going to do is when I put this in, after I show you how to put it all together, I'll put this in. It'll be in there for 2 hours. Cooking with Ruth, 2 hours? 2 hours. And then you'll take the top off and you will let it stand there for another 30 minutes. And trust me when I tell you, it's not going to be dry. It's going to be just as tender as you ever wanted it to be. Falling off the bone, all those herbs will have like wilted down and all that flavor will have been extracted and it will permeate that meat. You'll have a broth on there. And then we'll show you how to use that broth to make that seasoned rice. And then at that point, Lord have mercy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you watched the Cooking with Ruth show from last week, you know that the word of the week was unboxing. And in that case, it referred to no longer eating pancake mix out of a box. But today, we're going to do a different kind of unboxing because it's time for me to put on that red apron. And we got a new one, folks. We got a new one. So let's bust this baby open and let's get rolling. Because when you see this red apron, you are gonna know that it is on like some daggum neck bones. Do you hear me? I'm talking slow cooking 3.5 to 4 hours and then falling off the daggum. Boom! Anyway, we are ready to rock. I mentioned to you earlier when I talked about the seasonings that I put on the chicken that you want to season liberally. And again, the reason for that is you are going to not only bake the chicken, but you're also forming that broth that we're going to use to make that seasoned rice. So if you'll look here in the bottom of the Dutch oven, you see all those seasonings, the extra seasonings. I season it in the Dutch oven. They are there in the bottom, and that's going to be the base for that broth. And so what I like to do is I'll come in here and I'll take some of each of these herbs and I will form just a bed of herbs at the bottom. So we got some carrots, we got the celery, we got onions. Let's get some of this garlic. Let's throw some of this rosemary in here. Let's put some of this parsley in here. And let's put some of these shallots in here too. And what that does as well is it gives the chicken a bed to sit on. And then we'll add maybe a cup of water or so to it. And that way you're not taking that seasoning off of the bottom of the chicken because that water will sit at the level of the herbs that you've added. And then I come in the rest of the way. And I'm going to put some of these herbs in this cavity as well. So we'll just stuff them in there. Onions, the garlic, the parsley, the rosemary. And we'll put those carrots, we'll put the shallots in that cavity as well. And then with the remaining herbs, you'll just kind of put those around the wings, around the legs, and around the rest of the pan. Man, look at that, man. Look at that. That, ladies and gentlemen, food art. And once we get this thing in the oven, man, after about 30 minutes to an hour, the scent in your home, you will have to lock your deadbolt. If you have some sort of barricade for your back door, you'll want to activate that as well. If you have an alarm system, ring doorbell, all of that kind of stuff, you want to activate it because your neighbors will start showing up. You'll get strangers showing up to your home. What is that? That's that 7-herb chicken that I learned how to make on Cooking with Ruth. So it's time to go into the oven. I'm gonna about face, folks. Pop them in this oven. It's already, again, preheated. And we're gonna put this chicken in. And then I'm gonna set my timer for 2 hours. Boom. And then once that goes off, we'll come back and we'll do another 30 minutes uncovered. And that will allow that skin to brown some, give you some of that toasted skin notes, give you a little bit of crispness on that skin. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, you really don't know what you're getting yourself into. Today is a legendary episode on the Cooking with Ruth show, and we are just getting started. All right, folks, let's talk about rice for a second. As I've talked to folks over the years, in the cooking arenas that I've ventured into, I know that there are some folks that struggle with making rice unless they have a rice cooker. So I'm going to share with you the cooking with Ruth method for making rice. So in this bowl, I have 3 cups of rice. What I normally do when I make rice is however much rice I'm making. So if it's a cup, I'll do 2 cups of water. If it's 2 cups, I'll do 3 cups of water. In this case, I have 3 cups, and so I did 4 1/4-ish cups of water. Just usually about a cup more of water. You can add a little bit as you make more and more rice. But what you'll do is you'll season your water with a little salt, some sort of oil. I put olive oil in mine. That's to prevent the rice from sticking to the bottom of the pan. And you bring that water to a boil. You add your rice in, cover it, let it return to a boil. Take the top off, stir it, cover it, and turn it down on low, and you just wait 16 minutes. After 16 minutes, you turn it off, you take it off of the eye, and you'll have perfect rice every time. We are coming down to the end of our initial 2-hour stretch in the oven for this 7-herb baked chicken. So I'm gonna take it out of here, I'm gonna baste it a little bit, and then I'm gonna stick it back in the oven uncovered for another 30 minutes, and that's gonna allow that skin to brown up some, give you a little bit of toasted notes on the top of that chicken. Really kind of meld all those flavors together and add that toast to it, and goodness gracious alive, after that, it's gonna be time to eat, y'all. All right, folks. That means it is time, the heat hit me, to take the chicken out of the oven. Sit that on that countertop. And we're gonna take this top off. We're gonna get some of that juice from the side, soak that up into the baster, and just hit it. Hit it with that juice. We're gonna call that good. Stretch that broth just a little bit. All right, we are going back into the oven for 1/2 hour. All right, folks, that sound means it is time to take this 7-herb baked chicken out of the oven. Now that we have this out, this is where the beginning of that seasoned rice starts. So if you will come back over and take another look in the Dutch oven, we have all that wonderful broth that has formed in there with those herbs that we added. So we're gonna pour that off into this pan that I have on the stove here. We're gonna turn that heat up fairly high and begin to reduce that broth down. And I'm just giving you the overview now. And then what's gonna happen is as that broth reduces, it's going to start to get thicker and congeal. And once that happens, it gets to a point where it's pretty thick. We will add that rice that we've already cooked to it. We stir it in, make it uniform, homogenize it, if you will, and then you will have that legendary seasoned rice made from all those wonderful herbs that we added to this 7-herb baked chicken. So let's go ahead and get that process going. Oh yeah, we're getting close, folks. Y'all see that? Starting to get real thick. And at this point you have to kind of stir. You have to start to be careful, because if you scorch it, it changes everything, changes the flavor and everything. And it goes from being perfect to scorching very quickly. So we're gonna call this good. And we're gonna go ahead, take that off of the heat. Sorry. And we're gonna add this rice to it. And we may not add all the rice, we'll see how it goes. Just kind of how it looks. And if you'll notice, I'm using a wooden spoon too. This pan has like a non-stick type coating on it. And one of the reasons I use the wooden spoon is so that I don't scratch that coating off, because I don't want to be eating non-stick coating with my food. I just want my food. So by using the wooden spoon, I don't gouge that coating off of my pan. So then you dump, and again, you may not add it all. It just kind of depends on how it looks, what it nets out like. But you just want to mix all of that broth that you boil down into that rice. This is where you get that seasoned rice. Just want to evenly incorporate it into that rice. Alright, so we'll cover that up. And then we're gonna get this thing plated up. And we'll come back and we'll give it a try. We are about ready. And look at that clean cut. Just tender, moist chickenization. Peel that skin back away. Oh, look at that, man. Get a little bit more of this meat from up under here. We're gonna bring that over here too. Okay, so we'll start with just a little breast. Should I try a leg too? I mean, you gotta have a leg. I mean, you know, when you know what I'm saying. When you from, you know what I'm saying? When you from, you know what I'm saying. You gotta have a leg. We're gonna come back in here. We're gonna add some of that seasoned rice. That seasoned rice to it. Man, all we need now is some controversial collard greens. We got a whole meal. All right, folks, welcome back to the Cooking with Ruth cooking show on YouTube, and we have reached the grand finale of that 7-herb baked chicken with that seasoned rice, and it is time to taste this food that we have made for you. So I'm gonna start by getting a little bit of that seasoned rice. Folks, all 7 herbs, and then the flavor of that chicken comes through in every bite. And let's try some of this chicken breast. Peel that skin back a little bit. Moist, tender. Look at that. Look at that, y'all. Look at that. Extremely flavorful. I'm telling you, those herbs that we put in there, it just makes the meal. Look at this. I picked up this leg. Sometimes, folks, you just got to put your hands on that chicken. I picked up this leg and it's falling off the bone, y'all. But we're gonna go ahead and take a bite of this thing anyway. Got some bone in there. Tender, juicy. Folks, again, you may think this is hyperbole, but this is perfectly seasoned, and those herbs along with the spices that I put on that chicken. A great Sunday afternoon dinner for you and your family. This 7-herb baked chicken with seasoned rice, and we showed you how to get it all done today on the Cooking with Ruth show. We will see you next time, folks. Thank you for joining me. Bro, is the camera still rolling? Bro, I'm about to